report that is coming from the Niger Republic, coming on the 30th of June, 2026. This is what we call the grand finale, and the Nigerian Armed Forces did not disappoint. Ladies and gentlemen, today's report, we're going to be backing it up with a lot of context so that you understand what just happened in Niger Republic and the importance of this counter-offensive onslaught by the Nigerian armed forces. Okay, so according to reports, this counter-offensive was launched by the Nigerian FDS. They call them Forces de Sécurités uh, of the Nigerian people. So now I welcome you all back to this episode on the War Museum. Now, how are you doing today? I'm happy to have you all back. So this morning, as we are going to be reporting exactly 6 a.m., just a couple minutes after the prayer time for the Muslims, armed terrorist group elements attempted to overrun two military bases, all right? Two military bases in the Tillabéri region. So, ladies and gentlemen, they did not succeed, not even close. So it's not one military base, it's actually two military bases. They have been getting very bold recently because of the level of capabilities that have been given to them. All right. We've actually run this live stream before, but it was flagged. So that's why we're doing it again. But this time around, we might be a little bit more cautious. All right. So, but the good side is that those that missed the first live stream, you have the opportunity to get the report again because we actually took it down. All right. So, with regards to what unfolded in Torodi this morning, all right, according to the information relayed by Info Militaire IM, which is the Nigerian Military Information Channel, the assailants, which is the JSIM, which is a group for support of Islam and Muslim, an affiliate of the JNIM. According to information, the assailants, and I'm talking about heavily armed, coordinated elements that have non-states and state backing, moved on positions at approximately 6 a.m. local time. Multiple motorcycles, vehicle mounted with heavy GPMGs, different precision weapons. Now, according to the information that we were given, they said they moved on the position of the Nigerian Armed Forces at exactly 6:30 a.m. Let's think about it. From the War Museum perspective, we think that the assailants moved even before 6:30 a.m. because they probably did not camp very close to the Nigerian military base. But they might have some intelligence assets on the ground. Probably it might be a local that has actually been stationed there to give them the real-time intelligence report on the activities of the Nigerian forces in the different Torodi military base. And if you look at the assets within this military base, we have a lot of good equipment that if these elements were able to capture, it would have been an operational disaster. But the good side is, even if this attack was not an facade raid, ladies and gentlemen, this was a planned and coordinated assault. And based on what we saw, we actually think they were being fed even with advanced intelligence. How? Because of the way they were able to launch multiple Katyusha, capabilities from outside the military base. Yet, the Nigerians were able to withstand the pressure without recording a single casualty. Now, according to reports, Torodi sits between, Burkina Faso and Mali, the tri-border region. If you capture Torodi, the entire Sahel region is becoming safer. Now, on the other side of the coast in Mali, you have a good situation with Mali catching up with the La Bezenga region, which is a very, very essential corridor where the Malian armed forces were able to maintain some sort of operational dominance. Even they captured the star-shaped military base that was formerly occupied by the French forces. So the Malians have been able to maintain serious security presence. The Nigerians are trying to consolidate the security of the tri-border zone from Torodi. And it is because of the age-long activity and impunity that these elements have had in this position. That is why they continue to try to penetrate, to probe the defenses of the security forces of the Alliance of Sahel states. According to information, these groups that we're talking about are from the Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, the EIGS, and the Group for Support of Islam and Muslim, the GSIM. And according to further information, they said they have used this corridor for many, many years. And this morning, they tried again. But here is the big thing, because the story turned around today. Ladies and gentlemen, the FDS were not caught sleeping. They were not caught lacking because they were waiting. They were alert. They were ready. Operationally, they were ready. From a tactical standpoint, they were prepared for these assaults. Now, according to security sources, the unit deployed at the Torodi detachment, they detected the movement earlier and they reacted immediately. First of all, they put the capabilities together, they called for air support, and according to information, within minutes, they mounted a counter response. I want you to understand what that means. No hesitation, no delay. All the necessary, formations were put in place to resist an invading force that was very, very close to them already. They intercepted the assault before it could even develop into the breach of positions, And a lot of people are talking about the professionalism of the Nigerian force. They're talking about the way the Nigerian force were able to conduct this operation with a high level of professionalism. I think at this point, the Nigerians know what is at stake. They really, really understand the essence of this war. They know that this is not some isolated terrorist attack. They know that this is a bigger conflict. This is a conflict that influenced the geopolitical direction of the entire Africa. Because if you know where Niger really, really stands, a free Niger, a free Burkina Faso, a free Mali means a free Africa, if you really, really understand what I'm talking about. So sovereignty at this point is not something that is down for contest or for argument. But ladies and gentlemen, let's go back into the information. All right. According to information, the attackers tried to push through. They were met with coordinated fire. According to provisional byline, the FDS did not only contain the assault, they turned it into a rout. The assailants abandoned equipment and fell back with various degrees of injuries. Some of them, ladies and gentlemen, they did not make it out. Some made it out with injuries. Possibly analysts are saying that the guys that made it out with injuries, they fell beyond the effective distance of the firepower of the Nigerian armed forces. Some got creased from the TNT that came from the barrack. But some, they leave another day to tell the story. But when they tell the story, it will be a story that will be told in the direction of a deterrence by the Nigerian armed forces. And the Nigerian armed forces have been able to show this particular victory here is a show of deterrence, not just a show of, not just a show of operational capability alone, but a show of deterrence, that there is a red line at some point. Now, let me give you the numbers as we have them right now. And family, I want to be precise because this information is not coming from me. It's not just independent sources. According to the provisional byline that was related by the Militaire IM, that is a Nigerian-owned information channel based in Miami, and confirmed across multiple security sources, including Air Info Agadez in Niger and the Forces Army's Nigerian Community Network. Here is what the authorities are reporting. According to information, over 20 assailants, let us sink in, 20 plus. Because initially, when some of the Western media sources reported, they said 20. But now, after some minutes, between the time I, provided the report that was taken down, see now I have seen some adjustment. Ladies and gentlemen, the report now states over 20. Even the guys that were reporting from the Western media channel, I'm now seeing over 20 in their reports. I don't know what happened. Maybe they've gone back to count. But if you go to our Telegram channel, you can definitely count for yourself. It's more than 20. So this is not an argument. This is not propaganda. This is the reality that is very, very unforgiving. Now, according to information, significant heavy weapons were equally recovered from the assailants. Motorcycles, fuel canisters, they recovered GPMGs. They recovered a lot of capability, all right? Beddings, etc. Motorcycles that had GPMGs mounted on them. They are heavy vehicles that would probably help them to suppress the defensive position of the Nigerians were destroyed, which left them operationally incapacitated. Because now it will now be down to infantry, where the forces, because of their training and their experience, will reign supreme over these assailants. Now, according to information, the logistic backbone of these enemies were abandoned on the battlefield. According to the information coming from the forces of the Nigerians, the enemy left behind everything they came with except their lives. This was how they reported it. And here's the part that I think deserves the most attention, ladies and gentlemen. The authorities reporting, and I'm quoting, that there was zero casualty from the Nigerian side. Because in the video, when I was seeing the behavior of the Nigerian forces, which was a clear identity, like a clear show of conquest, I didn't see a sort of behavioral psychology that sort of indicates that maybe they were pinched or something was wrong. These guys were celebrating and the morale was very, very high. And, in my own level of knowledge about the Nigerian language, I will greet them Nagodi. So now, a lot of context. The Minister of National Defense have yet to publish any formal information or release any formal communique about this operation. That is expected in the coming hours. And what we are working from right now is the official provisional byline as transmitted through the information channels in Niger and corroborated by sources on the ground in Tillabéri. All right, from Torodi, the local independent sources in Torodi and all of that. So, it is now down to what everyone think independently about the operational capability of the Nigerian forces at this point in time. Now, a report did not state if it was the Baraktar Aksongo drone, it was the Thai Aksongo drone, or the Baraktar TB2, or any other, area capability that gave them the hedge in this, contact. It was not stated. But definitely, when you see what happened on the line of contact, you can see, that some of the indications were clear that air vectors were deployed very, very quickly to support the infantry on the ground. Now, we need to think about something. The same forces the Western media has always been claiming that were overstretched, they've just executed a textbook counteroffensive in the Tillabéri region. Ladies and gentlemen, and they did not just reign supreme over the enemies, they walked away without a scratch. It's very, very rare for you to see any close combat military operation where everybody walk out without a scratch. Even if you are dealing with forces that are not so professional, it is very, very rare. Because the most effective methodology of these groups is they don't even wear bulletproof. They believe in firepower. Most of the time, the only thing I think they carry as a form of defense is to carry a support fire team with their heavy vehicles, with their, GPMGs mounted on a motorcycle. But this is the counter response from the Niger, because immediately the battle was about to start, the Nigerian armed forces, they took out the heavy weapons, which would have given them an operational leveler. So immediately they took that out, the infantries of the assailants were left without any option than to face their fate. So the 72 virgins were carefully delivered to them. That is the fortunate side of the story. The 72 virgins were delivered to them. Now, I got to say this at this point. If you look at the timing of the attack, you will realize that these people are not Muslims. If you attack around 6 a.m., did you pray? When did you pray? Because these people did not come from a very proximal, staging point. They came from far away, according to reports. So you are trying to attack the people when they were praying. So it shows you that these people at this point, they are working in line with certain people that are trying to, boost certain narrative. All right? Because the question is, when did you pray? And I think people should be very, very careful now in the Sahel, most especially during the prayer period. Remember when they attacked General Sadio Kamara, they attacked when he was praying. So these people exploit every single opportunity that they can use to gain tactical, advantage. For me, you praying in the morning, they see it as a weakness. Well, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, they failed heavily this time around. Now, family, before I break down what this means for the broader security picture in the Sahel, if you find this report very valuable, you can kindly do well to help us hit the like, share, and you can help us hit the subscribe button if you're joining the Android community for the first time, so that this information can get to the people that needs to see it. Because our first information was censored, it was demonetized, and taken out. So that's why we're making this video again. You see, and some people are opportune to see this information right now. So what does this tell us, ladies and gentlemen? First of all, the attack was not random. It was properly planned. The tri-border region has been the most kinetic region in the AES. And that was why they created the FUAES, which has about 15,000 capacity. And now they have said they are taking the capacity to about 100,000 forces. So imagine if the AES come up with that 100,000 personnel capability, that will really, really change the security architecture in the Sahel region. The better the security, the better the economy. This is my own principle. This is my own belief. You can't talk about building infrastructure when you don't have a good security. And this is a counter response to the statement that was made by the president of Algeria, President Abdulmajid Tebboune, that he noticed that there is an escalation of military buildup in the AES. Why is he worried? He was talking about infrastructural development. Those people are growing up, they are growing at their pace. But if you look at the insecurity that they are confronting right now, which in my own opinion, they are like the bulletproof standing between a total collapse of the security situation across West Africa. These guys are the bulletproof. An escalation, a cancer that started from Libya, that is about to take the whole West Africa by storm. Nobody is a partner of anybody at this point. If you are weak, the enemies will take advantage of you. So you have no option than to be strong. And they are doing the right thing to put Africa where it's supposed to be. Now you can see they have become so strong diplomatically, they've become so strong geopolitically, they've become so strong militarily that they announced that they will now be breaking all diplomatic ties with France. These are the first group of African countries that can take this type of decision. And they took the decision. Now you see Equatorial Guinea trying to follow the same playbook. It is because they are beginning to see that some of us can do it. They are not doing it because anybody can just do it. They are doing it because they have walked the walk. And when you walk the walk, definitely you can talk the talk. They speak it, they live it, they believe it, it happens for them. So I give a lot of respect to these people. Now, initially, before this attack, there was a report from Western sources that there was an attack on the 17th of June on the Inatis military base. You know, according to further information, the JNI claimed, and the Islamic State, they claimed that they overran the Inatis base. But ladies and gentlemen, 48 hours after, they did not give any report from within that base again. You already know what has happened. They can ambush a base, but they cannot hold the position. Because where is the resources going to come from? So we are dealing with an asymmetric warfare here. Now we've seen the Niamey airport attack on June 18. These groups are trying to project an image of reach and capability, together with their media propaganda source that is helping them boost their image. But ladies and gentlemen, the outcome in Torodi tells a different story. Let's be honest with ourselves. Because when I saw the casualty, I asked myself, are these not the same people that we were getting report that they overran a whole military base as of last week? Because when you look at the level of casualties in today's operation, I doubt if the information that was given to us by certain media source about the operation of these groups on the Inatis base, I doubt if it's true. Because these are the same Nigerian forces. The level of professionalism and the level of capability I saw today was on a different level. So, you know, we've seen the attack on the Diori Amani base on the 18th of June. 17th of June, there was an attack on the Inatis base. 18th of June, there was another coordinated attack on the Diori Amani. Probably they came looking for uranium, but they were subdued, right? These groups, they're trying to do something. So if you look at the attack, the timeline, and today, you definitely know that they failed in Mali. And probably they are trying to launch another coordinated attack on any of the AES states. So what they're trying to do is called probing. They are probing. They're trying to see where the weakness is. They're trying to look at the response time. I don't think this is going to be the last time they are going to try. I think they are going to continue to try. But I think the good side of this is that the Nigerian forces, the Burkinabe forces, the Malian forces are going to become better in their craft. Their sharpness is going to be on a different level. And they are even going to adapt even more to this asymmetric warfare. Because every conventional troop in Africa, let's look at it for what it is. There are few conventional troops in Africa that can withstand asymmetric assault from most of these elements. So the fact that the Nigerians, the Burkinabes, the Malians are responding at a whole different level. In fact, in Nigeria here, a lot of our bloggers are celebrating this attack. In Nigeria, a lot of our brothers are celebrating this victory. Victory in the Sahel is victory for us. A lot of people might not understand. A lot of us are celebrating this victory. Not me. I have seen the report on different Nigerian channels. They are celebrating the attack, the victory against the JSIM as I speak with you. So it means we are all together in this. So that is why it is very, very important that we'll continue to pull our support together. We'll continue to fight against these people on all fronts. It is not just on the field. The boys are doing their job on the field. So wherever they try to come again to impose media terrorism or anything, which you and I are the targets, we need to form a stiff resistance against that. Homeland or death means a lot. It's not just a statement. It's an effect. It's a movement. It's an idea. So, ladies and gentlemen, recovery of the heavy weapons, equipment is significant. These materials will not be used against civilians in the villages in Niger next week. The GPMGs, that they will not be used again. And these elements that have been neutralized, they are not coming tomorrow. They are not coming next tomorrow. So this is an operational success. Now, you see, the FDS did not just repel the attack today. They degraded the capability of the element. Remember, the equipment that are lost, how will they get it back? Possibly somebody will replace it. I don't know. It will take a lot of time. The personnel that were lost in this attack, where will they get those experience back? Where will they get it? Now, I want to be clear. Once the Ministry of Defense releases formal communique, and we expect this to come within hours from now, I will bring you the full breakdown with every detail. I will make sure I bring you every detail. But for now, the picture from Torodi says something and is very, very clear. The enemy came, the FDS responded with devastating, ferocity, and the enemy paid very, very dearly. That's the unfortunate side of the story. The fortunate side of the story is that they got their 72 virgin because that's what they believe in, so they got it. So here's where I land in these families. The enemy is still probing, and they are still finding gaps. That's what these operations are about. But what happened in Niger today is a demonstration that the defense posture in Tillabéri, in Niamey, in Agadez is, the Nigerians are holding, and they are holding decisively. You know what I'm saying? So this kind of result does not make international headline. You will hardly see it on BBC. You will hardly see it on Al Jazeera. You will hardly see it on First Post. I think First Post might post it. I think First Post might report on it. But the framing of the headline, they will try to water it down like it's nothing. But if it's on the side of the Nigerian forces, let's say it's the forces that lost, you are going to see that they are going to start saying, oh, Russia's influence is fading, all those type of statements. All right. So it doesn't fit their narrative. But you and I know what it means. Every attack repelled is a message sent to the West that the AES is good enough to secure themselves and assert their dominance in the region as a multipolar bloc, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to tell you that congratulations to you, congratulations to me, congratulations to everybody, the Nigerian security and the entire AES today. They stood their ground because there are different operations I have not really talked about today. And, they made it count. Because for every personnel of the enemy that is being dropped is a problem for the enemy. And it sends an ideologic message. It breaks them. It challenges, tests their will. And that is what we're talking about. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this report, kindly do well to help us hit the like, share, and subscribe button. If you're feeling generous, you can leave a comment in the comment section below. Because if you don't, you definitely know that Android will cry. So, ladies and gentlemen, after the report is out, I would definitely come back to share the information with you. Much respect and thanks for everybody that is very, very important to this channel. By Design, Omaketa, Michael Scholes, Ignatius Moore, Roxy Angel. Yeah, I see you. I see everybody on this channel. Gina Coleman, Rashford, everybody from all over the world. My brothers from the Caribbean, from the United States, from UK, from Canada. I can't really believe, one of the biggest thing that I can't believe is that this information, the largest group in this channel is from the US, from Canada, and from the United Kingdom. The reason I can't believe, and even Jamaica, the reason why I can't believe this is because, they don't want you to hear anything good about Africa. They don't want you to have that feeling that Africans can defend themselves. They want you to always have the feeling that we have to always have social security. They want you to feel like they are not just taking our resources, that they are taking the resources, but they are providing military presence. You know, this is the playbook. We are taking the resources, but without us, they won't be able to survive the terrorist attack. But that is not true. With each day, every hour passing, we are able to feel, we are able to know where this problem is coming from. That it is the occupying force. Because there won't be a need for the occupying force to remain here if they did not build up this campaign against us. This is our land. This is your land. Check your DNA. Go and check your go and do your research about where your ancestors are from. Go and do your research. I'm not speaking on behalf of everybody, but everybody that is proud enough to stand with their, ancestry. Do your research. This is home. This is where we belong. We did not ask for any territory in Europe. We did not ask for any territory in the United States. We did not ask for any territory in Russia. This is where we belong. This is where we are from. So the defense of this particular territory that we're talking about is in our hands, regardless of the costs. So this is why we wake up every day and we feel that we're duty bound to bring this information to you all in diaspora, that we're together in this, that Africa is making you all proud wherever you are. So thank you for watching, and God bless you.